peace and love, Islam, man. It's happy holy day. It's a beautiful day today, man. So beautiful. Praise Allah. Listen, I wanted to get on here and talk about Karmelo Anthony. The case is hot right now. Of course, everybody's talking about it, but I think it raised some great questions about, to me, about fear and how do we qualify fear, especially among said Black Americans, African Americans, but we would say Asiatics. Those are misnomers, but that's, that's a different topic. But what drew me to this is that I was listening to, I forget the artist of the Ghetto Boys. He has a show, and it was a lawyer. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Most of you know what I'm talking about. He has a show on YouTube, and he had a lawyer come on there, giving an explanation how Karmelo's actions did not afford the qualifications of self-defense. And of course, he's kind of breaking down, not to go through all of that, but just briefly about stand your ground, is that it supposedly is still a measure in there where adequate force has to meet adequate force. So for example, if I come at you with a gun, the gun is the level that you can use to defend yourself. So if I come at with you some type of weapon, I have the ability to defend myself with a weapon. However, if I don't have a weapon and I come at you and you have a weapon, and I guess my threat could be measured, you can't use a weapon against me when I'm weaponless, something of that nature. Then it was the argument on top of that, well, he had a knife and he wasn't supposed to have a knife. He was on the school campus and so forth, right? And he's began to make the qualifications for that is that these are kids. You can't have kids with knives. That's why we have gun laws. That's how we have certain laws. You can't drink at a certain age and so forth, because young people, they don't have the mental capacity. They're still developing to handle those type of responsibilities under those influences, right? So immediately I thought of one thing. Well, that's an insanity argument. If the young man was not capable of handling the situation of a fight or flight situation. But let me jump right on into it. What about in the context of post-traumatic racism, or some call post-traumatic slavery syndrome, right? What if the fear escalated to a certain degree where the young man knew he was in a very high racist situation, and amped on top of that, his inability to be able to judge, whether this situation affords a fist fight or affords a knife fight or gun fight or whatever, his inability to be able to judge in that moment, and his real fear of racism, that's a real escalated fear, could at that moment, right, impose, in my opinion, what many say insanity, just like domestic violence. You would hear that argument in domestic violence with partners who at that moment they felt like a, they had to do whatever they could to get out of that situation. And that's at that moment they could not think rationally what would be the rational thing to do to get out of that situation. So with that, I probably cut this up and chop this up. I want to, my question begin to wonder is like, has anyone ever used post-traumatic slavery as a defense? And I did find something I just want to share with you guys. And, you know, there's something to really think about because it's a real thing. Like coming up as someone that looked like me, especially if you came up along, I was born in the 70s. So even prior to me, and I would say definitely the 70s on up, these are real things. Even to this day, I'm a professional. I'm a career professional, and I'm not comfortable in certain environments. I mean, certain situations. I already know what time it is before I step into it, and I know it. This situation could be very, very dangerous. You know. Now think about someone who don't have the wisdom and experiences that I have in that situation. They or someone have coached them how to handle a situation like that. There are several situations where it could have went left real quick, and especially to my homeboys, could have went left real quick if you did not have the wisdom or capability to know how to handle yourself in the situations. So he was 17. I do think insanity may be or could have been a defense. And Amp during his development, child age, along with racial, historic, post-traumatic history, even coded within our DNA as social cues, not even so DNA, but coded in our society by social cueing, social behavior, social engineering, you know. So let's see. I'm going to read this and love to get y'all opinion. Okay, here we go. I just did a simple like AI Google search or something like here. Here it is. I says, has post-traumatic slavery disorder ever been used as a defense? It says yes. The theory of post-traumatic slave syndrome (PTSS) and related concepts of historical intergenerational trauma has been attempted as a legal defense. However, it has faced major hurdles in the judicial system. Wow. The Portland murder case, 2003, the most notable attempt occurred in a 2004 Portland, Oregon murder trial. A defense attorney used the theory of post-traumatic slave syndrome to explain the actions of a father charged with murder by abuse and the death of his 2-year-old son. The defense called a professor to testify that black individuals today are affected by the historical trauma of slavery because their ancestors were never treated for it. The judicial reception. The trial judge threw out the argument during pretrial hearings. Wow. She ruled that the defense could only use the theory if they could prove it was an accepted mental disorder with a valid scientific basis. So you tell me that now homosexuality and something used to be a mental, it was thrown out, right? And now that's not a mental disorder. But yet this right here, post-traumatic syndrome, we don't have enough power, we don't have enough force, we don't have enough organization, We don't have enough foresight for us to get academic, scientific acceptance of the things that African Americans have dealt with for centuries. That's interesting, and that shows a lack of power in our leaders that we so-called are following, a lack of power in organizations that we are so-called a part of and following. You know, it should make us question who we're following and question these organizations that we're supporting. But anyway, let's get back to it. It says the theory originally coined by social worker Dr. Joy DeGary or DeGray. I'm familiar with her work somewhat. Definitely check her out. It's widely used as an explanatory and healing framework, but it is not currently classified as a formal medical recognized mental disorder by the American Psychiatric Association. And that's a problem to me. Standard PTSD defenses. While post-traumatic slave syndrome is rarely recognized as a viable standalone insanity or diminished capacity defense, attorneys frequently and successfully use standard post-traumatic stress disorder as a defense strategy. Standard PTSD defenses argue that a specific diagnosable traumatic event impaired a defendant's mental state and ability to form criminal intent at the time of the offense. Sound like that would fit from the circumstance that I've heard Karmelo Anthony's situation. If you are exploring the legal application of trauma, are you interested in how standard PTSD is used as an insanity defense? Or would you like to know more about the sociological and clinical framework of PTSS and how it differs from traditional PTSD? So I find this very interesting. I feel like this is very well a defense that would apply to Karmelo's trial for justice. Will it be a different outcome? Maybe not. Maybe not. But certainly it's worthy of a conversation. It's worthy of our people discussing and talking about it, because it is a real issue. And let me do just a plug here. The teachings of Noble Drew Ali, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Moorish Science Temple of America, particularly the Moorish Science, its main goal, or one of its main goal is in teaching, is to help people come out from the effects of post-traumatic slavery syndrome. It is actually, the teachings are there to help psychologically, spiritually, and physically, mentally prepare one to come out from mental slavery. That's the whole essence of the science. No matter what people say, what you're hearing from people, or whatever, if it don't, in a way, mentally prepare the said African American, said black folks to come into who they really are, it's not more science. It's not more science at all. But these are just some of the, I just thought I would share this. I thought it was, I think this is a great subject to be discussed, debated, and organized around, and really getting attention about the condition and the mind state of our people in general. You know, our people in general, as it relates to how do we function in a system that on one end, it teaches us a social norm to bow down, and on the other end, it's also cueing us to say we cannot defend ourselves. So, love to hear your thoughts. That's Marsharell, aka Smell. Hear me and see me in the wind. Peace and love.